Today I'm bringing you an old world style rye bread machine recipe, and I love this rye bread because it's so hearty, moist, and full of that traditional flavor. I used caraway seeds to keep the loaf traditional, and the molasses adds a delicious depth of flavor that you guys are gonna love. You might need to skip the bakery from now on because this bread is amazing. If you guys love homemade rye bread like I do, then give this video a like, and while you're there, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss my next recipe. For the rye flour, I'm using Rogers brand, but if you don't have this near you, then I've also added a link for Bob's Red Mill stone ground organic rye flour. So we're gonna add into the bread pan 1 1/3 cups of water, 1/3 cup of plant milk. I used Silk Soy, 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt, 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. We're gonna add fancy molasses, 2 tablespoons. I like to alternate 1 tablespoon of oil, then a tablespoon of molasses, then a tablespoon of oil, then a tablespoon of molasses, because as you can see here, the molasses just comes off of the tablespoon so much easier than it would if there wasn't that oil barrier there. And then our dry ingredients, we're gonna do 1 2/3 cups of whole wheat flour, 1 1/3 cup all-purpose flour, 3/4 cup of that dark rye flour. We're gonna add 2 tablespoons of caraway seeds, and you guys can swap this for fennel or maybe some anise seeds as well. And then finally, we're gonna add 1 teaspoon of bread machine yeast. Just like every bread machine recipe, make sure that you're using bread machine yeast or instant yeast. We can't use the traditional yeast as it's just not gonna work for a bread machine recipe. So for this recipe, we're gonna be selecting the whole wheat cycle, and this recipe makes enough for a 2-pound loaf. My bread maker defaults to 2 pounds, so just make sure that you double check that on yours and select the 2-pound loaf cycle. And then for the crust setting, I just selected medium, but you can choose light, medium, or dark for this recipe. It's gonna take about 3 to 4 hours depending on your specific bread machine. For mine, it takes 3 hours and 40 minutes to complete a whole wheat cycle. And it's really important that you are waiting for your bread to fully cool before you slice it. So oftentimes what I'll do is I will make this recipe the night before, and then I'll let the bread sit in the bread machine overnight. It's great because it reabsorbs all of that steam and it becomes super moist, but it's sturdy enough that when I go ahead and cut, it doesn't just tear the loaf apart. So that's a really good tip for you guys. You can just make it the night before. The next day, you can take it out and slice it all up. If you guys want to make this oil-free, you can go ahead and mix 2 tablespoons of ground flax with 2 tablespoons of water. Let it sit for a quick minute, and then you can add that into the bread pan instead of the vegetable oil. Thanks so much, you guys. We will see you soon in the next one.